Okay, good Devach. We're up to Ayin Hey Amid Beis. We're up to the Mishnah. Ayin Hey Amid Beis, the Mishnah. Very nice Geschmack Daf tonight. Says the Mishnah. We're dealing with a lot of taruvis mixtures. So we concluded that the previous Mishnah, that it's not possible to, for what, everything can get mixed up except the Chatas v'Asham, right? Because one's a Zachar, one's in a Keva. Now we're going to speak about other mixtures. Asham shenis arvi b'shlamim. So you can't discern because they're both males and they both can be the same age. So you can't discern the difference between them. Rav Shimon Omer, what should you do? Shneim yishchatu b'tzafain. They both should be slaughtered in the north. Now, Asham is kachim kadashim. Shlamim is kachim kalim. So kachim kalim is b'chol mokem be'azara. So there's no problem shechting shlamim in the tzafin. No problem. However, a shlamim is eaten for 2 days and a night, and an asham is only a day and a night. So that meat you'd have to go ahead and eat for a day and a night. Now, what's the problem? You're cutting the zman achila on the shlamim. You're being mafsid shlamim. In other words, you're not allowed to burn shlamim before the time. When the time after let's say you're not hungry anymore, you can't just burn it. You have to wait till it's nicer, and then you burn it. So what you're doing over here is you're being mafsid, since you're treating both of them like an asham. Automatically you're burning the meat of a shlamim before it's time. You're burning it early. So Amrullah said Chachamim to Reb Shimon, Eimevim kachim lebeis hapsul. You can't go ahead and bring kachim to the beis hapsul by burning it earlier, right? So therefore, what do? If you look at Rashi, right? Lebeis hapsul shememayit bisman achila. First bright the shura, the first broad line. You're being mayin achila shlamim umevi lidei nicer eli yirau. You let them graze v'yimachru and you sell it kidel. So in other words, what we do, we'll sell it. We'll wait till it gets a mum. We'll sell it, and whatever the price is, the higher price, we'll buy both animals for that higher price. In other words, that's the chachamim. They say if an asham gets mixed up with a shlamim, the asham is $500, the shlamim is $200. You're going to get it. Wait till they get a mum. You'll be paid to them, and then you'll bring 2 animals for $500. But you will not be able to go ahead and bring them both at the same time as kavanis because you're being mafsid the shlamim. Okay. Now this is the key, guys. The sugya is going to be predicated upon that. Rav Shimon says you can go ahead and be mafsid shlamim. In other words, be mafsid kachim and other things. Davar kodesh. You'll be able to minimize the time. That's the key for the rest of the shir. That you're going to go ahead and be able to go ahead to keep a halacha in order, even though you're going to go ahead and be minimizing the time of achila, or then it's Rav Shimon seems to matter. Nisarvu chatichos b'chatichos kachim kadashim kachim kalim. Let's say already the animal's been slaughtered already, did this rika, everything, and now you have the meat, and the meat gets mixed in. Now what do you do? So there the chachamim agree, right? So one of them, that the kachim kadashim was a day and a night, the kachim kalim was a 2 day and a night. Over here, the Chachamim Moed to Rav Shimon, you have no option of Yirov Yishtavu. In fact, then you go ahead eat both of them, but you can eat both of them with the chumrah of the day and night one. Okay, so live animals machlokes, cut up animals no machlokes. Okay, we're going to focus on the shita of Rav Shimon. Tani Tanakamei the Rav, a reciter of brises said in front of Rav. Shvius ein loichim b'demeha truma. Now, truma can be eaten all the time. But if you're going to go ahead and buy truma with shmita money, then automatically we know that you can only eat shmita up till the time of zman abir, that it's available for the animal in the field. So you buy it, you're taking money with kedusha shmita. We all know by now that whatever you buy with it gets the kedusha shmita. Automatically, what are you doing? You're taking the truma and you're limiting the time you could eat it, because you're going to be limited to the time of zman abir, which is mamish the case of our Mishnah, right? The case of our Mishnah is according to Rav Shimon, you would be able to do it. So the Gemara understands right now, l'chayra, this Mishnah or Brisa is not like Rav Shimon, because Rav Shimon would let you do it, even though you're going to be eating truma, you're going to be limiting the zman achila. We saw that Rav Shimon limited the amount of the zman achila by kachim. So Amru Kameh the Rava. They said this in front of Rava, and Had like Reb Shimon said Rava. This is not Rabba. It's Rabba. Had like Reb Shimon. It's not Reb Shimon. The Reb Shimon Ha'amar Mevin Kachim LeBeis Absul. That you can. You're right. Reb Shimon says you could be Kachim LeBeis Absul. You could eat a shlomim in this man of an asham. So you could eat truma in this man of shmita. So therefore, when it says over here, you cannot purchase a truma with what? With shmita money. Obviously, it's not like Rav Shimon. With Su selling truma, okay. Amar lahu. So Rabbi said, right? Rabbi said to them, right? They said to Amar lahu, afilu teimra Rav Shimon. You could even say Rav Shimon. So Rabbi said to these chachamim who retorted this, you could even say that Rav Shimon would agree by shmita. Hani mili the abid lechatchila, or the abid or the it got mixed up lechatchila, right? So lechatchila, right? Excuse me. Hani mili dieved. I said hani mili dieved lechatchila loy. Okay. B'dieved, if they get mixed up, says Rav Shimon, you have the eitzah of going ahead and treating it like the chomesh ebelhem, even though you're going to be mayim this man of kila of the shlomim. However, lechatchila to do it, we won't let you do it. So Rav Shimon would be maida, do not purchase truma with shmita money. Why? Because you're going to be maya and lechatchila you can't. Good. So now the Gemara is going to question that premise. You, Rabbi, want a taina that according to Rav Shimon lechatchila you can't do it. I'm going to prove to you lechatchila you could do it. Yes, that's good. It says the Gemara for the second time a very funny lashon. Ulechatchila loy and lechatchila not. And then we're going to go ahead and segue into the question on that. Esvei Abaya, you say that Rav Shimon says lechatchila, you're not able to go ahead and limit this man of achila of something. For kulan mishoyim, all kachim, the kahanim have a permission l'shanois ba'achilasayin to treat it different ways to eat it. Lechan sluyin, broiled, shlukin, overcooked for those people who don't like rare, umevushalim, and cooked in water. In a liquid, for laseis l'saychan, and what could you put on it? Tavle chulin, spices of chulin, v'tavle truma. Divrei Rabbi Shimon. Change the gersa, guys. Change the gersa. It's not Rabbi Yishmael. It's Rabbi Shimon. So what are you putting on this, right? What are you putting on this, fellas? You're putting on tavlin of truma. Yes. What's automatically happening to the tavlin of truma? You're limiting the time it could be eaten. Yet Reb Shimon allows this lechatchila. Fred the Gemara, you see lechatchila. Reb Shimon allows you to be mayit this man of truma because you're putting truma on kachim, and we know kachim has a very short time span when it can be eaten. That's like Fred the Gemara. Guys, good kasha. Good. Amalei. So Rabbi answered them. Hanach l'trumas tavlin de rabbanan. I guess Rabbi answered Abaya. Hanach l'trumas tavlin de rabbanan. You know why Rav Shimon allows you to do this? Because since it's Truma de Rabbanon, then he'll allow you to limit the time of its achila. However, Truma de Raisa he won't. Truma de Raisa he won't. So right now, we're holding strong. Rav Shimon will lichatchila not allow you to go ahead and limit the time of something. If it's de Rabbanon, he lichatchila would. But de Raisa not. That's what we're holding right now. Okay. Esivei anacha kasha. Ein loichin truma bekesef maisa. You have maisa sheni. You're going to buy truma. Guys, where could you eat truma? Anywhere. The kohen could eat truma anywhere. Where do you eat maisa sheni? Yerushalayim. So it says the Mishnah in maisa sheni, ein loichin truma bekesef maisa. You know why? You're going to limit the place you can eat it. Not this man. This is time. You're limiting the place you can eat it. Now you transferred something that can be eaten any place, and now it can only be eaten what? In Yerushalayim. Rabbi Shimon matir. And Rabbi Shimon goes ahead what? And he permits this. Yeah? So you see lechatchila. Ishtik. And now they were quiet. Because here's not Truma de Rabbanon. This is Truma. It's Truma de Raisa. Okay. Now, so this is l'chayra an upshlag on Rabbi's teretz. This is an upshlag. Rabbi answered that lechatchila of Shimon would not allow it. We have a Mishnah Maisa Sheni that Rav Shimon would allow it because we're limiting this man or the place of truma. Kiyosla kamei the Rabbi. Now, guys, let me give you the spoiler alert. The next piece we're doing is Rabbi Yosef telling Rabbiya, why didn't you use this to upschlag Rabbah? Why didn't you use this to upschlag Rabbah? And we're going to have a conversation back and forth between Abaye and Rabbi Yosef, and in the end, Rabbi Yosef is going to hold serve that in fact this also would have been a good source to upschlag Rabbah. That's what we're doing right now. Okay, and the next it gets a little involved, so I'm giving you the heads up. The heads up is you Abaye upschlag Rabbah from a Mishnah Ma'aser Sheni. I have a Mishnah in Shvius, which you could have gone ahead. I have a Mishnah in Shvius, which you could have gone ahead and upschlag him. Why didn't you tell him that? And we're going to have a dialogue back and forth. Good. Says Mar Kios l'kamei the Rabbi Yosef, when Abaye came in front of Rabbi Yosef, and he reported the conversation between him and Rabbah claiming that Rabbi Shimon says lechatchila you can't be mamayitz man, and I disproved him. Amalei, Rabbi Yosef said to Abaye, Amalei taisvei meha. Why don't you slug up Rabbah from this Mishnah in Shvius in the Periches Mishnah Zayin? Ein mevashlin yerek shel Shvius b'shemin shel truma. You cannot cook yerek of Shemitah in shemen of truma. Shelo yaviu kachim lebeis absul. Because what are you doing now? The truma is going to be limited to the zman of Shvius. Good. Reb Shimon mata. Now, guys, ein mevashlin is lechatchila. You can't cook. When Reb Shimon matters, what does that mean? You could cook. Again, the Chacham say you can't cook. Reb Shimon says you could cook. Das is al lechachila dikasprach. You could cook. You could cook. So ask Reb Yosef to Abaye, why did you only upschlag him from the Mishnah Ma'aser Sheni? You could upschlag him from this Mishnah in Ma'aser and in Shvius. Now, what does it say? Yerek of Shemitah in Shemen Shel Truma. Amalei Abaye said to Reb Yosef, V'lavmi oisvisa meha, the tavlin. I try to upschlag him from the tavlin of truma on the kachim, and v'amali hanich l'trumas tavlin the rabbanon, hachnami trumas yerek the rabbanon. You know what he would have answered me if I would have told him the Mishnah Shvius? The yerek is speaking about what? It's speaking about the yerek is being cooked in truma the rabbanon. So since it's being cooked in shemen of truma the rabbanon, then therefore he'll allow it lechatchila. But Einochinami, if it's deraisa, he wouldn't allow it. And Memela, that's why I didn't use this Mishnah in Shemitah to slug him up, because he would have answered me the same way. He answered me by the tavlin on the kachim cooking by the kahanim, the same teretz. He would have said it's only the rabbanon. So now it doesn't, see, here's where it gets a little tricky. Rabbi Yosef's talking. It doesn't say Amalei, but Rabbi Yosef is talking now. Ihachi, if the Mishnah in Shemitah was speaking about Truma de Rabbanon, it should have said the following: Yerek shel truma. Guys, what do we know about truma? Midaraisa, it's only from three things. It's only from the 5 grains, grapes, and olives, including olive oil. Right? Yerek is the Rabbanon. So says Rabbi Yosef to Abaye, you could have upschlagged it from him. And he couldn't have gone ahead and told you it's speaking about truma de Rabbanon. You know why? Because if it was, it would have said Yerek shel truma b'shemen shel shvius. It would have shemen shel truma in Yerek shel truma in shemen shel shvius. Because Yerek of truma is the Rabbanon. You know why it said Yerek shel shvius in shemen? Because the shemen of truma was the raisa, guys. It was what? It was oil, olive oil. Olive oil is mechuyev. And yet you see Rav Shimon matid lechatchila. So Rabbi Yosef, you could have used this as a means of upschlugging Rabbah. Because lechatchila, he lets you cook it. Now, Abaye retorts, V'lavmi ois visa mimasnisan, the matter of Shimon, v'amali de oriv. I slugged them up from our Mishnah. Our Mishnah says that what Rav Shimon says, right, that if you can go ahead and bring the asham and the shlam and bring in the same asham, meaning the most shver, and he said it's talking about it's mixed together. Hachanami de oriv. You know what? He would have answered me. This case of Yerek Shel Truma, Yerek Shel Shvius, and Shemen Shel Truma is speaking where it's mixed already. Fellas, you're learning, you're taking the Yerek and putting it in the Shemen. You know what? You know what Rabbi would have answered me? It's speaking is showing gemished. It already is in there. And Yachinami, Reb Shimon would say, if it's not together, you can't put it together. Once it's together, you can do it. Similar to our Mishnah. Once the kabbanis will mix together, then you can go ahead and have the eitzah to bring it to the Chamish Ebelehem. So he would have answered me also if I would have quoted the Mishnah in Shvius. He would have said, since it's mixed together already, therefore mata. But einachinami, if it wasn't mixed together, not. So that's why the Mishnah in Shvius is not a good slug up on Rabbah. That's what, again, you see the dialogue. This is going back and forth. He's trying to go ahead. Rabbi Yosef is to substantiate why his kasha is a kasha from that Mishnah. And Abai is saying, I didn't ask from here because Rabbah would have said this, this, and this. So we did the first one. We did a truma. Now he's doing the second one. It's mixed together. So now, says Rabbi Yosef, Ida Ariv, if it's mixed together, my time with the Rabbanon. What's the reason of the Rabbanon? Right? Why, if it's mixed together, fellas, why would the Rabbanon say you can't do it? Why can't you limit the time? If it's mixed together, you have no choice. Says Abaya, maybe the Habi Asham Shlamim. Maybe it's like Asha B'Shlamim, where the Chachamim say, what do the Chachamim say? Let it Yirad Sheyistayev. Says Rabbi Yosef, mi dami, Hasam Islay Takanta B'Re'iyah. Over there by the animals, you have they mix together. You have a takana, let them graze, get a mum, and go ahead and bring bipoida and bring the karbanis with the more expensive amount. Where it's mixed together, if it's mixed together, the shemen and the iraka and the yerek, less they takanta b'riya. You don't have takana, so the chama would be moida. Haledami yelul chaticha shebechatichas. The kula and the less takanta, because the kivin less they takanta, the oichel chama shebehem. So in other words, says if it was mixed up together, what would the chachamim, guys, in our Mishnah, what did the chachamim say when it's mixed together? Chaticha b'chaticha. He said you could sell. So when it says over here, the chachamim said you cannot cook it. It must be it's not mixed together. If it's not mixed together, and Rav Shimon matted it, so I've proven my point that you could have slugged up a Rabbah from here. So Nachamol, guys, it's speaking there, Raisa, when it says Yerek shel shvius b'shemen shel truma. It can't be speaking that it's the Rabbanon, because why? Because it says shemen shel truma. It's mashma. If it was the Rabbanon, it would say Yerek shel truma. Ella, when it says shemen shel truma, it's the Raisa. You can't tell me it's mixed up, it's mixed together, because the Chachamim, what would the reason the Chachamim say it wouldn't work? Says Abaya, they'll say it wouldn't work. Why? Because it's like shlamim nasham, which they say doesn't work. Said Rabbi Yosef, Asham and Shlamim don't work because you have a way out. Go ahead and graze them. Over here, the Chacham would agree that there's no way out. It's similar to the end of our Mishnah, Chaticha b'chaticha. Once it's geshachten already, the Chacham would admit you go ahead and you can and limit the time. Ella in Achinami, Rabbi Yosef, Abai has to be made to Rabbi Yosef. You could have upshlag Rabbah from the Mishnah in Shvius. So therefore, in summary of the sugya so far, in summarizing, we have a Mishnah saying that if something gets mixed together, according to Rav Shimon, if it gets mixed together, you go to the Chamesh Ebelhem where there's takana. Where there's no takana, the Chachamim are moida, like chaticha, but chaticha they would be moida. Rav Shimon, Rabbi wanted a taina that when we asked the kasha from Shvius that you shouldn't buy truma with it because you're limiting the time, and said Rabbi wanted a taina that lechatchila Rav Shimon would be moida, that you can't. And Abaya disproved him from two Mishnahs. Abaya from one, Rabbi Yosef from the other. Abaya disproved Rabbi Shimon from a Mishnah Maisha Sheni, where we said that he matted to go ahead and purchase Maisha Sheni, Truma with Maisha Sheni money, despite limiting this location. And Rabbi Yosef saying that Rabbi Shimon permitted you to cook a yerek of Shvius in Shemen Shel Truma Deraisa, even though you can be Mamayit the time of the Shemen. Why? Because of the Shemitah, Inyan Shemitah. So far, Baruch Hashem. Maskevla Ravina. Mi dami chaticha b'sheba chatichas leste takanta klal. Ha isle takanta b'schita. What is Rav Shimon saying that comparing this to chaticha b'chaticha? Chaticha b'chaticha, there's no option. If I have kachim kedoshim mixed with kachim kalim, a 2.5 to a 1.5, I have no option. If I have shmita, a shemen in the shmita, I have a takana. I don't have to cook it. I can squeeze it out. Right? Yes. In other words, once I have a takana, the chachamim say, so l'chayra, if I have a takana, then like Rav Shimon, if I had a takana, why would you think Rav Shimon said you can go ahead and buy it and cook it? Why would you be able to cook it? Go ahead and it's not similar to chaticha b'chaticha. Chaticha b'chaticha, there's no way out. By shchita, by cooking yerek of shmita in oil of truma, squeeze out the truma oil. Rabbi Yosef hechi nischa. Rabbi Yosef says no. How are you going to squeeze it out? Nischa tuva, if you fetch it too much, kamafse b'shvias, meaning the vegetable is going to get kvetched, guys. If you're going to fetch it so much to get at the shemen, it's not possible to go ahead and get rid of some of the shmita, the vegetable, right? If you want to get all the oil, it's not possible to get an exact moment where all the oil is out and the vegetable is still intact. So to get it all out, you're going to have to fetch out, and therefore you can't do that. Nischat porta, if you're going to go ahead and only a little bit and you have it mixed together, saif, irui ma'arif, it's still mixed together. And if it's mixed together, it's chaticha bet chaticha and the chamim maida. Okay? So that's what we're holding right now. Rav Shimon said, "It's din afil lechatchila." Okay, the next piece of Gemara is challenging. Let's go through a little Yedias time. The Mitzayra, after he's pronounced the Mitzayra, Chutz Lamachne, he gets the birds and Tlashani, takes a body shave. 7 days later, he takes another body shave. On the 8th day, he brings Kabbanis, and one of the Kabbanis he brings is an Asham. Included with the Asham is a Loik Shemen Shel Mitzayra. That Loik Shemen, he's going to go ahead. One kohen is going to put it in his left hand. He's going to take this and he's going to spritz towards that. That's mitzayra. He spritzes 7 times in front of the proiches. That's the mitzayra. Now, what about the? Can you bring a nadava of shemen? And you can. It's called a minchas nadava, a mincha of shemen. You could bring it. Like any mincha, guys, it requires kamitza. But any other mincha requires kamitza and haktara being burnt. Once you do your kamitza and your haktara, at that period of time, the rest of the oil is called shirayim. The rest of the oil is called shirayim. It's called remnants. Okay. The problem, the case of large over here is where you have a suffix mitzayra. Where you have a suffix mitzayra, and the only way for him to get his kapara is to bring this asham. But he may not be a mitzayra. So what do? So we're going to make a tanai and say if he's not a mitzayra, then the oil that he's bringing should be a nadava. And we're going to see. Let's see what we got. Reb Shimon Omer, Eisavei. Reb Shimon Omer, Lemachras, after his body shave on day 8, maybe Ashamai, he brings his Asham, Veloigai Imai, and he brings the like shemen with it. He brings the Asham and he brings the like shemen with it. Ve'omer, and he says, Im Shal Mitzayra, if I'm a Mitzayra, Harizah Ashamai, V'zeloigai, I'm a base. This is my loig, and this is my Asham. V'im Lav, Asham Zeh Shel Shalmei Nidava. This Asham is now what? A Shlomim. V'oisei Asham Toyin Shchita. This Asham needs Shchita B'tzafin, because even though it's a Shlomim, it has to be Tzafin in case it's an Asham. Umatin B'hoinois, and you have to put it on the right ear, the right toe, and the right thumb, right? Even though it could be a Shlomim. Smicha, it requires smicha. It requires smicha, unisachim and nisachim, utnufas chazav v'shoik like a shlamim, the waving of the chest and the right foot, the nechaliyam v'layla, and it's eaten. This shlamim is eaten like an asham day and a night. Okay, aren't we being mamayit now in this matter of the shlamim by a day and a night, guys? Aren't we being mamayit? And who says this? Who says this? Right, Reb Shimon Omer. Reb Shimon saying this. So says the Gemara. Tikune gavra shiny. In other words, Rabbi Shimon's saying, guys, lichatchila, I'm able to do this. Lichatchila, I'm able to do this. Kashan Rabba. Rabba, how can you say lichatchila, you can't do it? You see that lichatchila, you could do it. Rabbi Shimon's telling you, lichatchila, bring this asham and limit the zman of achila, making it what? Into a shlamim. And now the shlamim is being eaten only for a day and a night rather than 2 days and a night. On that, Gemara's answer is tikuni gavra shiny. The tikuni of the gav is different. In other words, I have no choice. This person, I have no choice. This person, I have to go ahead, and I have to make it. He's mechusik kippurim. I have to go ahead and get him tahar. I have no option. And when I have no option, this is what I got to do. Good. Okay, guys. Now we have a logistical problem. We have a logistical problem. Exactly with, I understand we just dealt with the Asham Shlamim, right? What about the oil? In other words, the oil has to have two options. It has to be either Mitzayra oil or it has to be an Adava. And now the question is, at which point in time did you do the Kemitza? Guys, you hear? Again, we don't know if this guy's a Mitzayra or not. So bringing a meat carbon, what we call a dam, a zevach, we have an option. It can either be an asham or it can be a shlamim. We will treat the asha, the shlamim with the chumras of the asham. We'll treat the asham with the chumrah of what of shlamim. Tanufa chazav v'shoik. Okay. Now, the loik shemen. There's two options. Either it's the loik shemen of the mitzayra, or it's what? It's a minchas nedava. Now, the minchas nedava needs kemitza. At which point in time am I doing kemitza? At which point in time am I doing kemitza? That is the problem at hand. Okay? Now, very important, this idea. Carbon rashis takrivu osam lahashem. Kol mincha pasuk aleph. Kol mincha asher takrivu lahashem. Let's say asa chametz. You can't make chametz. Ki chol sa'ar, anything that's chametz. V'chol devash, anything that's sweet. Let's saktiru mimenu yishel Hashem. So guys, the chametz is speaking about the shtei lechem that's brought in shvuos, and the devash is speaking about the bikurim, the fruits that are brought. You don't bring them on the mizbeach. You put them before the mizbeach. You don't bring them on the mizbeach. Now, it says there's two ways to darshan this pasuk, and this is very important for the sugya. Something that's chametz and devash, you can't leisaktiru, you can't bring as a carbon. There's another way. Leisaktiru mimenu ishel Hashem. Guys, anything that was like ishel Hashem, lo saktiru mimenu. I'm using lo saktiru in the first part of the pasuk. I'm using lo saktiru in the latter part of the pasuk. Lo saktiru mimenu ishel Hashem. Anything that was born as ishel Hashem, I cannot go ahead and burn. What means the following. Once something becomes permitted for you, you can't bring it on the mizbeach. So let's say you go ahead, you bring a carbon shlamim, and now you have basar, you have a chazav v'shoik that's for the kayin. You're not allowed to put that on the mizbeach. You have basar that's permitted, you can't put that on the mizbeach. You have shirayim of a mincha, you can't put that on the mizbeach. Kol shmeimenu leishim leisaktiru. So therefore, this is going to cause us a major issue over here. Exactly. When you guys listen, when you do the kemitza, right? And you do kemitza, that makes the oil shirayim. That makes the oil shirayim. So if you're going to go ahead now and use that to sprinkle in front of the proiches, sprinkling in front of the proiches is an avoida, like burning is an avoida. Memela, just like I'm not allowed to bring shirayim on the mizbeach, I'm not allowed to sprinkle shirayim. It's an avoida. So my haktara, my kaimetz might create a problem. So let's see what the problems are over here. Okay, going back, what we're saying again, we're having this is a suffix mitzayra. The shemen now is either for the mitzayra or it's an adava. Says the Gemara. Ha-tenach, 4 lines down. Ha-tenach asham. Very good. You explained the meat. You can make it into a shlamim. Loig my ikalamema. What are you going to do with the loig? On that we say the Amar loig ze yehei nedava. Okay, now it's a nedava. V'dil malav mitzayrahu. It's not a mitzayra. What do you have to do then if it's not a mitzayra? Uboy mekametz. You have to do kemitza. And for the Gemara, the makmetz. You did do kemitza. For the Gemara, v'dil mitzayrahu. Uboy matin sheva. And you have to go ahead and sprinkle 7 from a full loig. Fellas, look at me. If you did kemitza, you took away some oil. Now, after the kemitza, you're going to go ahead and spritz the 7. You're chassa the loig. You're missing from the loig, and you need a full loig. Says the Gemara, the yoiv. You what? You did it. For the Gemara, chassale. Says the Gemara, the maisi porta umalile. Did nan chasa loig. If the loig is missing, achla yitzak until you pour it on the guy's head. Yimalenu, fill it up. Okay, so guys, no problem so far. Look at me. What did you do? You bought a loig of oil. You did a kemitza on it. Now you went ahead, you took the loig, you put more, you filled it, whatever the kmitza took up, you replaced, and now you're spritzing. So apparently now you have no problem. Now here's the problem. If the kmitza, guys, look at me, please. If the kmitza, it becomes shirayim, but you still have to burn the komitz. There's a menachas halacha like this. Between kmitza and haktara, you can't go ahead and be mechusa the shirayim. Between the kmitza and the burning of it, you got to make sure the shirayim is totally intact. So watch. What did you do? What did you do? Watch. You did a kmitza. You then created a loig. If this is an adava, this loig is all what? Is all shirayim. What then did you do? You sprinkled 7 times. Now you're missing 7 drops from the shirayim, and now you're burning it. You're not allowed to go ahead and be mechasa the shirayim before you burn it. Again, the technical parts of this is so fascinating. Again, one more time. The halacha is between a regular mincha, between kamitza and aktara. When you do kamitza, it creates shirayim. That shirayim has to be intact before you burn the kaimitz. Over here, I'm doing a kamitza because it might be what? It might be an adava. I'm filling it up in case why? In case it's a mitzayra and I need a full loig. On the possibility that it's an adava, I now have shirayim. I took from the shirayim on the possibility it's a mitzayra, and I sprinkle 7 times. My shirayim now is missing. And when I burn the kaimitz, I have a problem. You can't go ahead, and burn a kaimitz with missing shirayim. As I read the Gemara. Let's see it inside. Umal did not, okay. You have to go ahead and burn the kaimitz. Says the Gemara, the akta le'emas. When did you burn it? The akta, you burn it. The akta, you burnt it. Emas, when did you burn it? Ibasa matnosh sheva. If you burnt it, guys, if you burnt it after the 7 sprinklings, havile shirayim shechasru ben kamitza la'aktara. It's shrayim that's missing between the kamitza and the haktara, because you took from the loig, you sprinkle 7 times. So therefore you're going to be missing, and that is not allowed. You can't do that. Ikoidim matan sheva, and if you burnt it, guys, if you burnt it before the sprinklings, good. If you burnt it before the sprinklings, good. If you burnt it before this, so guys, look at me, guys, look. You did the kamitza, you burnt it, now I have shirayim. If it's a mitzayra, great. If it's an adava, I'm sprinkling shirayim on the curtain. What do we say? What does the pasuk say, guys? What does the pasuk say? Lo yisaktiru mimenu ishel Hashem. Something that's been an ishel Hashem. You burnt the kaimitz already. You cannot go mimenu, take the shirayim and put it on. Says the Gemara, super lumdis. Basically, you messed up. Either way you go, how in the world I'm going to avert this problem? How am I going to avoid the problem? I've taken care of the mitzayra problem, but my minchas nedava is problematic. Okay, so if it's before, then you're going to have a problem of the shirayim being missing before the haktara. If you did the haktara before, maybe it's a nedava, and now you're burning shirayim on the base on the earth. So ikoidim matna sheva, and if you did the haktara before matna sheva, kol shemimeno leishim harihu bibal taktiru, and you can't do that. There's a even though everyone's muted, it's very, very silent. Okay, I'm going to say it one more time, guys. Okay, guys, look at me. Let's go through the whole thing. Let's go through the whole thing one more time. Okay, yeah, Baruch, I'm going to go through the whole thing. Okay, good. Okay, watch. The guy's a suffix mitzayra. You don't know what to do. Okay, let's deal the easy parts, the meat. You're going to bring this meat as an asham or shlamim. You'll treat it as both. You'll do shchit in safin like what? Like a asham. You'll eat it for a day and a night like an asham. You'll go ahead and wave the chazah b'shaik like a shlamim. Great, that's not a problem. My problem is the shemen. A loik shemen accompanies both. Says the Gemara, I got not a problem. I'll make it tonight. If it's a mitzayra, it's for mitzayra. If it's an adava, it's for an adava. Okay, now, if it's an adava, I have 2 processes that I have to deal with. I have to deal with the Kaimitz process, and I have to deal with the Haktorah process. And depending when that transpires, that creates a problem. Okay, so for now, if you do Kmitza, right, before the sprinkling, what's my problem? I need a full loig, and I don't have it. Says the Gemara, no problem. Once you took the Kaimitz out, fill it up. Go to the lug jar, and fill it up. Okay, I took care of that. That's not a problem anymore. I don't have a problem. Okay, now, so exactly when, if exactly when did you do the Haktorah? Okay, so now the Kamitza is not a problem. When exactly did you do the Haktorah? Okay, when exactly did you do the Haktorah? So let's go. If you did the Haktorah, after you did the sprinkling, I got a problem. What's my problem? In case it's an Adava, so the Kamitza was a Kamitza, and that made any leftover Shemin Shirayim. The halacha is between the taking of the kaimitz and the burning of the kaimitz, you're not allowed to get rid of, and the shrine has to be totally intact. You will have sprinkled 7 times from this shirayim. That's a no-no. So therefore, it can't be speaking where what? I went ahead and I did kmitza and haktorah after the 7. Okay, what's the option? I did haktorah before the 7. Now, on the case that it was in the dava, this is all shirayim, right? So what am I doing? I'm taking shirayim and burning other base of that I can't do. So right now, this eitzah doesn't seem to work. I hope that was clear. It does seem this eitzah doesn't seem to work. Okay. So Amrav Yehuda, Breder of Shimon and Pasi, the masik lahu l'shem eitzim. Says Rashi, 4 lines up. L'shem eitzim, the amahachi. Im mitzayrahu, if I'm mitzayra, the ein haktaras hakaimitz haktara. If I'm mitzayra, then haktar is garnish, it's nothing. The halav nedava have because it's not a nedava. Hari mizeh me elu she'ena shirayim. Then this 7, I'm taking this loig, I'm taking from this leftover oil, but it's not shirayim because it wasn't a nedava. So therefore, that's not a problem, right? If it wasn't a nedava, I just have regular oil. However, if it ain't a mitzayra, and if not a mitzayra, the haktaras hakaimitz haktara, v'yesh mimeno leishim, and therefore I gave something to the fire already, and therefore this shirayim, ve'elu shirayim hein u'bal taktiru, and therefore what I'm not able to go ahead and put it on. So by putting on these 7 fellas, I'm going ahead and making it a problem of burning shirayim. Hari hazor elu. I'm going to view the 7 kilu hey mayim. I'll view them as water. Shari rishoy lahalois shiori mincha ala mizbeach. Right, and then I have permission to go ahead and let and be maila shiori mincha ala mizbeach. In other words, I'm not going to put this up as shirayim. I'll view the 7 as fuel. We'll see what I mean in a second. In other words, if I burnt it first and this is shirayim, I'll view the 7 sprinklings not as shirayim, and therefore I'll avoid the problem of burning shirayim on the base on the mizbeach. Where do you see such a concept? Let's see back in the Gemara. The Tanya, Rabbi Eliezer Omer, l'reich nichayach iyatamayla. Okay. Korban reishis takrivu osam laHashem. I can't put it up as reich nichayach, but I could put it up as something else. That's the Gemara's darshaning. I can't put it up in reich nichayach. This is Rabbi Eliezer's drasha, but I could put it up as something else, right? So what could I put it up? I could put it up l'shem eitzim. I could put it up that it should be a fuel. Rashi says, "V'haydu lishna de eitzim v'loy l'shem mayim mishum lishna dekra." The question is about saktiru burning. You burn wood. You don't burn water. But in other words, I have a very good eitzah now. So right now, I took care of everything. It's speaking where you did the kmitza, you did the haktara. The shirayim is there. I had problem burning shirayim. I'm putting the shirayim up l'shem mayim, and I could do. That I could do. Fred the Gemara, you still have a problem. V'ika shirayim, the boy malinu, v'ika hachpurta d'loi kometz lavei. Right? What's it speaking about, guys? Right? When you did the kamitza, let's go back. You did the kamitza, you're missing a leg. So what did you do? You filled it in. That kamitza is not going on that little bit of leg that you had to fill in for the mitzvah part. Remember, you can't be chused a leg. So when you did the kamitza for the nadava part, yes, the leg is missing. What do we say you do? You fill it in. However, now you don't have that kamitza did not matter that part. That's the Gemara's kasha. Says the Gemara, "Va'ika shirayim deboy melinu, va'ika hach purta d'lei kometz lavei." Says the Gemara, this is a chiddush nifla. The parakle, when you put it in the loig, you put it on the das. That if it's not, guys, the klisharis is only mekadesh midas. If something has kedushas domim, you could be paida. Kedushas aguf, you can't. Remember we spoke about kedushas aguf. You have to. The animal has to get a mum if it has kedushas aguf. Anything that's in the klisharis gets it in the kedushas aguf. That's provided you want it to be. So when you filled it up, you had this following condition. If it's a mitzayra, then I want it to be holy. If it's not a mitzayra, then I just wanted to fill in I just wanted to fill in. So therefore, you could be poided. You poided that little shemen, and it goes lechulin, and it's going lechulin. You don't have a problem of matering it. Now the kasher is exactly when exactly did this pidyon take place? When is the parak lehecha? When exactly were you poided it? Igavoy, if you poided it while you were inside the Beis Hamikdash, in the Beis Hamikdash, kamayl chulin azara. Yeah, you're bringing, well, literally you're bringing chulin azara, but you didn't. But we'll see in a second. Iabroi, and if you took it outside to be paid the oil, if salei b'yaitza, it becomes puzzle. It's kachik kadashim, becomes puzzle outside the zara. Against loilam gavoi, loilam it's inside. V'chulin memela hava, and chulin was memela. Chulin was memela. In other words, this chulin azara is bringing chulin the azara. This you created chulin the azara. You were paid in the azara. Since you were paid in the azara, that's okay. You didn't bring chulin in the azara. You were paid in the azara. Since you didn't bring it in, it's not a problem. So you can go ahead and you go ahead and be paid it. So therefore, that's the that's the case where you sprinkle, guys. The case ultimately. I'll give you the final case, guys. The final case. If it's in a dava, listen, kemitza, haktara, problem of shirayim, not a problem. You put it in the shemayim. Other problem, you filled it up beforehand. That you were paida, and therefore it was chulin, and you didn't have a problem of having to be richal on that, the kemitza on that. Okay, Fred the Gemara kasha now. Iver Omar Rabbi Shimon a misnadvin shemin. Guys, all this was predicated upon what? You have a suffix mitzayra. Rav Shimon is the one who said, you're going to bring this, and what are you going to do? You're going to bring, again, guys, Rav Shimon's the one who said this. Go back to Amid Aleph, guys. Back to Amid Aleph. Ayin Vav Amid Aleph, 2 lines on the bottom. Esevei, Rav Shimon Oimer, Lemachras, maybe Hashem Blagimais. Who's talking? Rav Shimon, right? Who's talking? It's Rav Shimon. Rav Shimon's talking. And Rav Shimon is the one who's giving you the eitzah of what? Of the loik shemen being either mitzayra or in a dava. Reb Shimon doesn't hold of Nedava. He doesn't hold of it, fellas. He doesn't hold of Nedava. So the whole thing, Frank Deshon, it doesn't begin. You don't have an Eitzah to possibly bring the Shemin as Nedava because he doesn't hold this no such animal. Excuse the not pun. There's no such animal as a Minchas Nedava, guys. So how can you tell me he does it? On that, the Gemara answers, Takuni Gavashini. He has no option. Einachinami, to go ahead and bring one lechatchila not. You have a suffix mitzayra, and the only way out is to have the option of mitzayra or minchas nedava. He has that option. Okay, let's finish up to the Mishnah. Yosef Rav Rachume Kamei de Ravina, v'Yosef Kamish Mei de Ravuna, Bar Tachlifa, v'neima Asham Zeh Yei Asham Taloi. Why do you say this Asham should be an Asham Taloi? Okay, going back to our Mishnah, guys. Going back to our Mishnah. Asham shenisari b'shlamim, an asham that gets mixed up with a shlamim. Okay, so what does he say? All right. Excuse me. Going back to our Mishnah. Hashem shenisarav b'shlamim, Reb Shimon Oimer, Shneim yishchatu b'tzafin, v'yochlu k'choym hashav lehem. Amaloi ein mevi'in kashon beis ha'psol. So l'chayra, we have another option. He wants to go ahead and do something else. So what does he want to do? Yosef Rav Rechumi kamei Ravina, v'Yosef become mishmei Rav Huna bar Tachlifa. Why does Rav Shimon have to go ahead and make a condition that if it's not Shem Einay Mitzayri Korban Shlamim? Oh, excuse me, I'm telling you one shot, guys. It's not going back on the Mishnah. It's going on the case of the case where he's a Safek Mitzayra. Yes. What was the option? Either it was a Asham or a Shlamim. Why didn't he make it an Asham or an Asham Tali? What would you gain? Then you're not going to have any meat going to the base of Psul. Guys, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I wasn't clear. I'm going to be much clearer now. Listen up. If it's a Safek Mitzayra, how do we get into this in the first place? You said if it's a Safek Mitzayra, you're bringing two karbanis. You're bringing what? You're bringing in Asham, and you're saying that what? That if it's an Asham, yeah. If it's a Shlam, and if I don't need it, it's a Shlamim. And as a result, I'm bringing it lebeis hapsul. Yes? Because if it's a Shlamim, you can eat it for a day and a night. That's how we get into this. Why don't you say if it's an Asham, if it's a Mitzayra, then great. And if it's not, it's an Asham Tali. And it's not a Shlamim. If it's an Asham Tali, what are you gaining? Asham Tali is also only eating for a day and a night. And now you don't have a problem of bringing Basa to the base of Psul. Yes, no, maybe? Again, the problem was Asham Shlamim. Shlamim 2 days and a night, day and a night, Asham. I'm getting rid of the Shlamim. I'm saying it's an Asham Tali. If it's an Asham Tali, then it's day and a night. And now you're good. So says the Gemara. So this is what Rav Chumi was sitting Kamei in front of Ravina, and he was saying in the name of Rav Huna bar Tachlifa, and he was saying Asham Zeh Yeh Asham Tali. Shma Mina, Man Ditana, the Poligalod Reb Eliezer, Reb Shimon Hu, the Amar Ein Misnav and Asham Tali. Guys, Reb Eliezer is of the opinion a person can make an adava of an Asham Tali. Why? Because every person has a Safek Aveira in their head. An Asham Tali is where you have a Safek, you have a Chi of Karis. So Reb Eliezer is of the opinion you can make that adava. When Reb Shimon did not leave that option, yes? When Reb Shimon did not leave that option, it must be why? Because he disagrees that you can't make the Nadava of an Asham Tali, and he was forced to say Shlamim. Yes, L'chaira, why did he say Shlamim? He could have said Asham Tali. What would we have gained? Then it's both day and night, and you're not making anything nicer before it's time. You're not getting rid of Shlamim before it's time. Ella, when if Shimon did not let that option, it must be because he disagrees with Rebbe Eliezer. It must be because he disagrees with Rabbi Eliezer. That's what the Gemara is stating now. It's stating he must have said that. So Amalei, Ravina said to Rav Rechumi, Tyra. He said, not such a nice thing. They say you're a person that they say that you're a Baki in Tyra. Where's your Tyra? Imri b'dichri michlelach. Could you possibly go ahead and make a difference between an Asham Mitzayra, which is a year-old, and an Asham Tali, which is a 2-year-old. Imre, a sheep, that's a year-old. B'dichre, with an aisle, that's 2 years old, right? Michlevcha. How could you mix that up? I mean, how could you make that mistake? Guys, what are we saying? We're saying this Asham Iman of Shach. It should be either an Asham or Shlamim. You want this Asham to be either what? An Asham Mitzayra or Asham Tali? An Asham Mitzayra is 1 year old. A Shlamim could be 1 year old. An Asham Tali has to be 2 years old. So Reb Shimon could agree with Reb Eliezer, but there's no option to possibly consider that this Asham should be an Asham Tali. Why? Because an Asham Tali is a 2-year-old, and this is a 1-year-old. Mashenkin Shlamim could also be a 1-year-old.